Rain tapped lightly on the roof of the shack that night, not enough to soak the ground, but just enough to remind everyone how thin the ceiling really was. Logan sat on an overturned milk crate beside the wall. He'd been there for over an hour. He hadn't said much after stepping inside, just listened, watched, took it in. The way the children moved around each other like planets in orbit. Quiet routines formed not out of planning, but necessity. Sharing food, swapping dry socks, whispering bedtime stories in low voices even when they were clearly exhausted. It was a kind of choreography that no adult had taught them because no adult had stayed long enough to try. Raya finally spoke. "You can't stay here." Logan looked up. She stood near the makeshift doorway, arms folded across her chest. Her voice was steady, but her jaw was set tight. "This isn't your place," she said. "We don't need a suit watching us sleep." "I'm not here to watch," he replied gently. "Then, why are you here?" He opened his mouth, closed it again, because the truth felt too big to say in one breath. "I don't know," he admitted, "but I couldn't walk away, not after seeing this." Raya narrowed her eyes. "We've had church people come through, take pictures, leave sandwiches, cry a little, then they leave. Always. I'm not here to take pictures." She tilted her head. "No, you're here to do what feel better. Write a check. Clear your conscience." The words weren't cruel. They were sharp, real, honest. Logan nodded slowly. "I used to think money could fix everything, and now I know it can't." The rain picked up outside, a steady patter against the roof. One of the younger boys coughed in the corner, and Jaime, the girl with the soft voice, gently rubbed his back, humming something under her breath. "I want to help," Logan said. "We don't want charity," Raya replied. "It's not charity," he said. "It's respect." That stopped her. Logan stood, wiping his hands against his coat. "You don't owe me trust, or kindness, or anything, but you gave me something without asking for a thing in return. You and your brothers, you stayed. You protected something that didn't belong to you, because it was right." Raya's eyes softened. Just barely. "I've built towers," he continued. "Headquarters, labs, projects that take years and millions of dollars. But I've never built anything that made me feel the way you made me feel outside that car." She blinked, unsure. And what was that she asked, like I still had a soul? Silence. Then, softly, she asked, "Why now? Why us?" Logan thought of the folder, the eviction notices, the death certificate, the chalk drawings on the wall, the bruised boy sleeping in the corner. And then he said, quietly, "Because I should have come sooner." Raya's lip trembled just for a second. She turned her face away quickly, but not fast enough. He didn't move closer, didn't press. Instead, he said, "Let me stay one night, just to listen." She hesitated, and then, Logan said, "You tell me what you need, not what I think you need, what you say." She looked at him, really looked. He saw something flicker in her eyes. Hope? Fear? Maybe both. "I don't know if I believe you," she whispered. "That's okay," Logan replied. "Belief can come later." A long pause, then she nodded. One slow, small nod. That night, Logan didn't sleep much. The floor was cold. The air smelled like old rain and mildew, but he didn't care. He lay awake, staring at the ceiling, listening to Eli's soft breathing, to Micah whispering about dreams, to Raya shushing someone gently from across the room. And for the first time in years, Logan didn't miss the marble floors or the corner office, or the city skyline. He didn't miss anything, because here in this broken, quiet place, he had finally arrived somewhere that mattered. The boardroom at Aurala Systems headquarters gleamed with glass, steel, and silence. 12 directors sat in a long oval, suits pressed, tablets blinking, laptops open behind them. The skyline of Boston rose like a crown, distant, sharp, and cold. Logan Barrett stood at the head of the table. No slides, no charts, just him, hands steady, eyes tired, heart full of something none of them had seen from him before. Conviction. "Let me get this straight," one of the board members said, clearing his throat. "You want to scrap the Edgewater research facility?" Logan nodded once. The man blinked. The $200 million neuroscience hub, with FDA grants and 3 years of government partnership lined up. "Yes," Logan said. Another voice chimed in. Why, a murmur of disbelief passed through the room. Logan took a breath and told them about the town, the children, the shack, the tablet that could have been stolen, but wasn't. The girl who guarded it without knowing its worth because she believed in doing the right thing, even when no one was watching. When he finished, the silence was thicker than concrete. Someone scoffed quietly. Logan, one of the older investors, began, leaning forward. "We sympathize, truly, but this isn't philanthropy hour. It's a board meeting." Another chimed in. "We have contracts, shareholders. You're talking about throwing away 3 years of planning for a shelter." "Not a shelter," Logan said quietly. "A sanctuary." The room blinked. "Excuse me," someone said. "I want to use the Edgewater land." Logan continued. "To build a sanctuary for displaced children, for kids like Raya, like Micah, like Eli, and the 5 others I met, and the hundreds I haven't." One woman sat back slowly. "You're asking us to turn a biotech investment into a children's home." "No," Logan said. "I'm telling you that I am." Silas, standing silently at the edge of the room, closed his eyes for a beat, then opened them again. He wasn't surprised, not anymore, but the ROI someone started, Logan cut them off, gently. "I know how this sounds. I know what we usually measure, but here's what you haven't seen." He pulled a photo from his coat pocket, held it up. A snapshot taken that morning, Raya, standing beside the car. One hand shielding her eyes from the sun, Micah behind her. Eli curled near her side. No boardroom presentation ever made me feel like that moment did, Logan said, and no technology I've built has taught me more about loyalty, courage, and grace than those kids did in 48 hours. He paused, let the words land. Then, he added, "I'll buy out any of you who disagree. Today, full equity, no questions." That got their attention. Whispers, raised brows. Silas cleared his throat and stepped forward. "Mr. Barrett has liquid reserves. He can execute buyouts immediately. Already spoken to legal." A long silence followed, and then one voice. "You're serious about this?" "I've never been more serious about anything." More silence, then slow nods, some skeptical, some intrigued, but no one objected. Logan exhaled quietly, and for the first time in years, he didn't feel alone in a boardroom. He turned to Silas. "Make the calls, pull the permits. We're breaking ground in Edgewater." Silas gave a single nod. "Yes, sir." Logan left the building moments later, but this time he didn't head toward a helipad or a car. He walked down the crowded street, past coffee shops, past the people he used to overlook. He was still wearing a suit, but he no longer felt like a CEO. He felt like a man building something that meant something. Hours later, he arrived back in Edgewater. The children were outside when he returned, chalk drawings on the sidewalk, a makeshift soccer game with a plastic bottle and 2 bricks for goals. Eli was sitting under a tree, watching the others, his breathing more even today. Raya stood to the side, arms crossed, guarding the world as always. He approached slowly. She didn't smile, but she didn't frown either. "I thought you said you'd come back." She said, "I did. Most people don't. I'm not most people." A pause. Then she asked, "So, what happens now?" Logan looked at her, really looked, then smiled. "We build." The rain returned the morning of the hearing. Not heavy, just enough to turn the courthouse steps slick with memory. Inside Edgewater County Family Court. The waiting room buzzed with faint echoes, the shuffling of papers, the muted tick of a second-hand clock, the distant whine of a copier. But in the center of it all, seated on a bench near the window, sat 3 children small, quiet, and barely moving. Raya Sullivan, 10 years old, sat in the middle. Her brothers, Micah and Eli, leaned into her sides. She held both their hands. Her dress was too formal, a pale blue hand-me-down with sleeves that bunched at the elbows. Her ponytail had been brushed, but the ribbon frayed. She looked up at the ceiling light, as if it might reveal something the grown-ups wouldn't say aloud. Across the room, Logan Barrett stood in a charcoal suit, not the expensive kind. Today, he wore something simple, something soft around the edges. His hands stayed folded in front of him, steady but not controlling. He didn't speak. Not yet. His lawyer, a quiet woman named Mara Klein, leaned over to whisper. "They've reviewed everything. Home evaluation, social worker interviews, background checks. The judge is ready." Logan nodded once, but still, he waited. It wasn't about the paperwork anymore. It was about Raya. He watched her without staring, noticing the way she whispered to Eli when his knee bounced too fast, the way she fixed Micah's collar for the 3rd time, the way she hadn't looked at Logan once since they entered the building. She was bracing for loss. Again, he knew that look, that armor, because he'd worn it once too. The courtroom door opened. Case 724, Barrett versus State of Vermont, petition to adopt Raya, Micah, and Eli Sullivan. Logan stepped forward. The children followed slowly. The courtroom wasn't large. Wood-paneled walls, a single flag in the corner. The judge sat behind a wide bench, her robe crisp, her glasses low on her nose. Judge Marin Holloway, mid-60s, silver hair pulled into a bun, eyes that had seen too much and still stayed kind. Logan stood where instructed. The children sat beside him. He didn't look at them. He let them look first. The judge flipped through her file, scanning silently for a long time. Then she looked up. "Mr. Barrett," she said, "you understand this petition, if granted, is permanent, that you are asking to assume full legal and parental responsibility for these 3 children." "I do," Logan said, voice calm, "and I'm ready." The judge nodded. "The court has reviewed your history. Your financial capacity is obvious, but more importantly, your emotional presence has been consistent. The social worker's notes are unusually heartfelt." She paused, and the children's responses, especially Miss Raya's, speak volumes. Logan felt the weight of that line. So did Raya. She shifted in her chair, but still said nothing. The judge continued, "Before I rule, I'd like to ask, is there anything you wish to say?" Logan turned to the children. Only now did Raya meet his eyes. He stepped closer, not too close, and crouched beside them. "When I met you," he said, speaking not just to Raya, but to both boys as well, "I thought I was just protecting something that belonged to me." He paused, but then I realized it wasn't the tablet I was trying to keep safe. It was what you reminded me of, what I'd lost. His voice tightened, just slightly. You reminded me what loyalty looks like, what courage sounds like, what family feels like. Micah's hand curled tighter into Raya's. Eli leaned closer, whispering, "Is he really gonna stay?" Raya didn't answer. She just stared at Logan, waiting. Logan placed his hand flat against his chest. "I'm not here to rescue you," he said softly. "I'm here because you saved me first, and I want to earn the right to be the one who never leaves." Silence, no movement in the courtroom. Even the clerk stopped typing. Judge Holloway blinked behind her glasses. "Well then," she said. She picked up her gavel. In the matter of Logan Barrett's petition to adopt Raya, Micah, and Eli Sullivan, she brought the gavel down once, gently. "This court rules in favor." Micah gasped. Eli blinked. "Raya." Raya just sat still, frozen. Logan stood slowly, gave her space. "You're mine now," he said gently, "if you'll have me." Micah leapt up and hugged Logan's waist without hesitation. Eli followed, arms barely able to reach. But Raya, she stood slowly, face trembling. And then finally, she moved forward and wrapped her arms around Logan's middle. Tight, not asking for anything, just holding on. "I didn't think you'd come back," she whispered. "I didn't think I'd leave." He replied, "Not ever again." The trucks rolled in at dawn, not loud, not flashy, just steady engines humming beneath gray clouds, carrying beams of reclaimed wood, bolts of insulation, buckets of white paint, and boxes labeled school supplies and emergency kits. They turned off Maple Street and into the lot where weeds used to grow tall enough to hide a child. The place had been nothing but concrete and wind. Now, it had a name, Edge House. Not a shelter, not an institution, a home. Logan stood on the sidewalk with a rolled-up blueprint in one hand and a cup of black coffee in the other. He wore jeans, a flannel shirt, boots with mud caked near the toe. He looked like any other man trying to build something real. Beside him stood Silas Reed, clipboard in hand. "You're not using contractors?" Silas asked. "Nope," Logan said. He took a sip of the bitter coffee, then nodded toward the people unloading the truck. Local volunteers, retired builders, single moms with tool belts, even a few teenagers with baggy pants and calloused hands. "They came because of the kids," Logan said, "not because of me." Silas smiled faintly. "You've changed." Logan shrugged. "Maybe I just found my way back." Across the lot, Raya was showing Micah how to use a tape measure. Eli was helping an older woman plant a sapling near the corner of the future dining hall. They were barefoot, they were beaming, and no one told them to stop. Construction didn't happen overnight. There were setbacks, plumbing delays, zoning issues, a permit that got lost in the county office until Logan made a call no one expected a billionaire to make himself. At one point, a storm blew through and took the north wall with it, but no one quit, not because they were paid, but because they believed. 2 months in, the first section of Edge House opened. A main hall with 14 cots each with a soft blanket, a reading lamp, and a nightstand filled with handwritten notes from volunteers. You matter. We see you. Sleep well, little one. Raya walked through the space with slow steps. Is it really ours? She asked. Yes, Logan said. She reached out, touched one of the bunks, ran her hand across the comforter, then looked up at him. But what if someone tries to take it away? They won't. How do you know Logan knelt beside her? Because this time, we built it. Raya didn't smile, but she sat on the edge of the bed and stayed there a long while. Weeks later, the kitchen was functional. The smell of cinnamon and eggs drifted through the halls. Eli stood on a step stool, whisking pancake batter while Jaime watched the stove. The boy with the bruised eye, Benny, was setting a table with mismatched plates, each one chipped but clean. Want syrup or honey? Benny asked Eli. Honey, Eli said. Raya says syrups for Saturdays. Logan watched from the doorway, arms crossed, heart full. This was more than he'd ever dreamed a house could hold. It was not just shelter, it was healing. That night, Logan found a box on his doorstep. No name, no return address, just a ribbon and a small note inside for when it gets hard. Because it will, inside the box, drawings, crayon sketches on construction paper, kids in capes, stick figures with big hearts, and one with a man in a flannel shirt standing beside 3 children. The words beneath he stayed. Logan stared at it for a long time and then framed it, hung it in the entrance hall, so every new child who walked in could see someone did stay, and would again. It had been exactly 1 year since Logan dropped his phone on that rain-soaked curb in Edgewater. He remembered it not because of the date, but because of the feeling. A feeling of panic, loss, and then wonder. He still had the phone. It sat in a glass box near the entrance of Edge House, framed like an artifact. The cracked screen still lit up, faintly, if you pressed it just right, and under it, a small plaque read they could have stolen it. But they chose to protect it instead. Children passed it every morning on the way to breakfast. Some touched the glass, others just stared. It had become something more than a phone. It was the moment everything changed. That evening, the sun dipped low over the roof of the now finished Edge House. Golden light poured in through long windows. Laughter echoed from the common room, where Micah and Eli were building a cardboard rocket ship. Raya sat on the steps outside, knees tucked up, arms wrapped around her legs. Logan joined her quietly. She didn't move, didn't speak right away, but after a while, she said, "You're still here." He smiled. "I said I would be." She nodded. "I didn't think people meant it when they said things like that," she murmured. He didn't answer, didn't need to. The silence between them was no longer heavy. It was full. "I still remember that day," she said. "You left your car door unlocked. Your phone was right there in the seat. Micah thought it was a trap." Logan chuckled gently. "Smart kid." She looked at him, but it wasn't. "You really just forgot. Guilty." Raya smirked. "I thought about running with it," she admitted. "But," Micah said, "if someone had nice shoes and left their phone like that, they probably didn't have much else figured out." Logan laughed out loud. He said that she nodded, smiling for real now. Then her expression softened. "You know," she said quietly, "you weren't the first person we tried to help." He looked at her, surprised. "A few months before you, there was this woman. She was crying outside the market, said she lost her wallet and couldn't get home. We gave her what we had. He already knew where this was going. She never came back." Raya finished. Silence again, but this one stung. "I'm sorry," Logan said. Raya looked at him with something like forgiveness, not just for the woman, but maybe for the world. "You made up for it," she said. He turned to her, eyes soft. "You were never a debt to be paid." A pause. Then she asked, "So what happens now?" He smiled. "We build another one. Another what? Another Edge house. In another city, for more kids like you, and Micah, and Eli, and all the ones still waiting." Her mouth opened in surprise. "You're going to leave." He shook his head. "I'm not going anywhere. I just want to bring more people here. People who care. People who'll stay." Raya was quiet for a long time. Then she leaned her head against his shoulder. "I'll help," she whispered. Logan swallowed a knot in his throat. "You already are." Later that night, a small event took place in the courtyard. A modest cake, folded paper signs that read "Happy 1 Year," a few donated candles. Kids sang off key. Benny brought out an old guitar. Jaime danced in socked feet with Eli while Micah tried to DJ from a phone with a cracked screen. And under the stars, Logan stood up to say something. He didn't prepare a speech, didn't write anything down. He just looked around at the faces that had changed his life. "I used to think success was measured in numbers," he began. "Revenue, shares, assets." He paused, letting the warm breeze carry his next words. "But then I met a girl who guarded a stranger's phone like it was treasure. A boy who offered his last sandwich to his sick brother. A group of kids who built family out of nothing but kindness and tape." He looked directly at Raya, then the others. "And now I measure success in laughter, and shared dinners, and healed knees and framed drawings in the way you all hold each other up." A hush. I dropped my phone, but what I found was far more valuable. The kids clapped, Micah whistled, Raya didn't clap, but she smiled and mouthed something small. "Thank you," he nodded. "Always." At the end of the night, Logan tucked the younger ones into bed, made rounds like always, checked the pantry, locked the gate, and returned to the entrance where the old phone sat in glass. He looked at it and whispered, "Thank you for falling." Then he turned off the light and went home, which, for the first time in a very long time, was right where he stood, in a world where too many walk past the hungry, the barefoot, and the forgotten someone stopped. Not to rescue, not to save, but to listen, to build, to stay. Logan Barrett didn't just find his phone. He found 3 children who still believed in doing the right thing, even when no one was watching. And through them, he remembered what it meant to be human, not powerful, not rich, just present. But let's not forget these children were overlooked for too long, dismissed because of where they slept, judged for how they looked, brushed aside by a society that measures worth in wealth, not in courage. It shouldn't take a millionaire to make us pay attention. So, if this story moved you, if it made you feel something real, a little heartbreak, a little hope, then let's do more than just watch. Let's remember the Rayas, the Micahs, the Elas of this world. Let's choose compassion over convenience, dignity over assumptions. If you believe in stories that matter, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. More voices are waiting to be heard, and we'll be right here, ready to tell them.